having local guys working for you that are invested in the community, that go to church with you, the kids go to school with your kids, and the farmers because your dad knew them and you got those roots there. Some of the worst examples I see most of the time, it seems like it's all unscientific, but seeing guys come into areas that they're not from or don't live in seems to be where I see the biggest complaints from people because they don't have those roots established in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have the knowledge of the area or the respect for the people in that area, if you just show up and try to run the show, I mean, you're just not gonna, I feel like you're just not gonna do as well. Obviously, I'm sure there's plenty of outfits out there that find plenty of success doing it, but like, I personally don't know if I could ever feel comfortable about that because there's so many places that we hunt and knowledge that we have that, even though I'm only 23, I mean, it's knowledge that I've had for 10 years since
Oh
when
yeah.
I first started duck hunting, places that I've seen and watched, and it's like if you don't know that, I feel like you would struggle to be here with some of that knowledge. But on top of that, like you said, respect for the landowners. I mean, we've been hunting some of our leases that we hunt. We've been hunting on that guy's land since we were kids, even before the guiding and all of that. And he's been
Yep.
supportive ever since. And it's like those kind of leases and those people that you're in with. I mean, you can't just build those relationships overnight.
Nope. And
Well,
money can't build those relationships either.
well,
No,
that makes me
sir.
ask that brings up a question to me, and that is okay for each of you. I know you're both eager, like entrepreneurs, and you're growing your businesses, stuff like that, and y'all are like perfecting your current location. Now, what about when you try to expand? How do you
Are y'all looking at doing any expansion yet, Hunter? If not, I'll talk about it.
So we look at expanding into other parts of Nebraska that we're familiar with, but the problem is like when we go to do our expansion, obviously someday we want to go to Canada, someday we do want to own outfits in other states, but the way we want to do it is we don't want to go in with ourselves who don't have any knowledge or any of that. We want to find partners in those states
Your
that can
guy.
do business as us that
Yep.
know all of the information, that have all of that down, because clearly I can't just show up in Arkansas and know everybody and meet everything and do all that. I want to find someone who's been there for 20 years, who wants to run an outfit and maybe struggles to do some bookings or needs some help or something, that we can come in and help and do business as, but have
Or
them
an
run the
Asian
show.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there because we're looking at doing some expansion. We even looked at Nebraska, and it's not going to happen because I know no one up there that pretty much got rolled out pretty quickly. But Oklahoma is like our next like logical solution because we're only 45 minutes from the border. We already hunt in Oklahoma some for fun. We've got it a little bit down there in the past, but as well as I do, ducks are only around for so long, and you can only do so much in your home range. So if you are in the mindset, and not saying everybody should be, because Lord knows I struggle with this, but if you're in the mindset, if you do want to grow, moving locations or adding locations is where you have to do it a lot of times. But just like you said, man, before we do anything anywhere other than our backyard, it's going to be with somebody that's from there that we trust, that's one of us, and they're going to be our liaison to that local populace because the last thing we want to do is come in there. Oh yeah, we're hot shot outfitter. We're doing this and we're doing that. That's it. I want Bubba that's been there his whole life that worked for three of the farmers and grew up doing 4-H with everybody else's kids and all that stuff. That's my guy. That's the case in that area, at least in the early stages.
Of course.
yeah,
When I'm
I
going to
like
listen to him,
Yeah,
at
oh
the end of
yeah.
the day, ego gets checked to the side. This guy, this is his area, right? I'm here to, help with any oversight or marketing or insurance or whatever, but that's my guy, and put your ego aside and trust your person there and go that route.
yeah, 100%. I think that was an excellent point. I'm glad y'all brought that up. Internally though, so Wade, Hunter, I've known both of y'all really since I got into this. Me and Wade were talking on the phone yesterday, and we were just discussing like we've kind of come up at the same time, and that we've obviously different jobs and stuff like that, but all been intertwined. But Wade, I've experienced or had a conversation with you in the past about growing too quickly. While we're on the topic of growing, Hunter is in a phase of growing right now. and he's done a good job at kind of setting that foundation. But I just want to kind of hear for Hunter, for those outfitters that are looking to expand, like you've gone through it where you've had to reel back at some point and
Yeah.
now you're able to go back ahead and lay that foundation again. What were those like key moments where are those key things that you needed to go back, like reel back in to kind of lay for the foundation?
One, Hunter and the guys at Whiskey Flues are kind of in a unique position because they got a good layer there of people to work with four people in ownership and then,
Mm.
full-time, good staff, full-time employees and stuff. And so for us, it was a little bit different, and it's still for the most part myself and Lydia, although we are bringing on other full-time employees, but at the end of the day, when it comes to growth, period, once you establish where your acceptable level of quality is, whether that's number of birds, I use customer retention, guest retention. I know if I'm keeping those return guys, our numbers are stupid. That's my personal. But I know if I'm keeping that number there, like I'm doing probably, the bulk of what I need to do right. But once you establish like this is the level of service and quality that I will not bend on under any circumstance, growth has to be proportional to that. Because if you have to drop this side to make this side go up,
Mm.
that's a net loss. So unless you can make those go up together or come up, one to the other without dropping that quality level. I mean, as long as you do that, cool, man, grow, but don't sacrifice quality for quantity.
I got you. And so, like, I guess for you, what's a good example? Because I know we've already talked about expansion, and that's kind of getting the
Yeah.
cart before the horse for a lot of people. They might not be at that stage or even thinking about that stage. But like their one location, what are examples of growth, like new revenue income? So I know one's going from one group of hunters to two groups of hunters, but then
Yep.
there's
Yep.
expansion with different options. So what are those kind of different things people could think through?
Well, I mean, utilize 365 days out of the year. That's the first
That's a
option.
great point.
Like, we used to guide from November 15th all the way to February 15th, including our late deer season. We cut out November. We're not doing November anymore, and really, we're going to be very limited on that late deer season. So, like, we brought that in and went to quality over quantity, and we're just doing December and January now because I know I can give those people what they deserve and they're paying for in those 60 days. Would it be cool to book guys, early in November and stuff like that? Yeah, it would. But you know what ends up happening? We deal with a lot of weather issues and it's stuff that's not in our control. We're not trying any less, to make it a quality hunt for them, but we can't, reasonably guarantee that even though I hate to use that in this business. But like we can't reasonably provide the quality of service that we set our bar at by leaning in November. So we got rid of it. So what can I do in November? I live in Kansas and Nebraska, so another good whitetail state. Let's take advantage of the rut. Let's get some deer hunters in there. We don't have to be Buckmaster. We don't have to be Michael Waddell, but there are guys that will pay, reasonable amount of money. We charge a reasonable amount of money. Have those guys come here and deer hunt. Oh yeah, on property that we already need to lease and stuff like that. So we're getting cross utilization out of that stuff and getting more return on those investments that we're already having to put into that for background or expand our background because when they're done hunting the rut at Thanksgiving, guess what I roll into the next week? Manning waterfowl. So they play off of each other and then, obviously turkey hunts or whatever you can do to diversify across that because my, and it has been for a year now, goal is to retain good people 365 days a year. And I'm still struggling with it. I'm still working. Um, I got 3 or 4 guys that work for me. I don't want those guys to go get a factory job. I don't want them to find something better. I want them with me because they're good. And figuring out ways to keep those guys employed 12 months out of the year is my biggest. you know, hurdle that I'm shooting for right now.
So, do you have going to the retention? One of the biggest things and like opportunities I've seen for outfitters is to take a client that's a waterfowl client and turn them into a different species client throughout a different part of the year because it just drives down your cost of acquisition. You're not having to go and market, spend
Hmm.
money to get them to do something else. Have you experienced that yet with any of your clients where, hey, I like hunting with Wade when I'm going waterfowl hunting? I'll probably like deer hunting with him.
That's the whole reason we even entertained deer hunting was because we were sitting in
Cool.
duck blinds here, in late November, early December. And our guys that were from Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi or whatever were sitting here duck hunting with us, and they're seeing these big bucks, dog and does around. While we're sitting in a duck blind, and they're looking down the blind and be like, "Hey, Wade, when are you gonna start offering deer hunts?" And so that kind of came about out of demand, not necessarily something that we were chasing down.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Totally. Well, Hunter, do you have any questions on the growth stuff before we move on?
I mean, what he's saying is like that's gold because like that's what a lot of people do is they try to jump the gun. They
Mm.
like he said, they think, "Oh, I can run 80 days of hunts, so I'm going to run exactly 80 days of hunts," but 20 of those days might be shitty days and you're not going to what's that going to do? That's why we added pheasants this year. That was one
Yep.
of our growth things. We added pheasants. We have a CSA, so we can hunt pheasants September 1 till April 1, and they're always there. I always know where the pheasants are going to be. And
Yep.
everybody likes to hunt pheasants, and so we same thing like you said, Wade. I had waterfowl guys; they'd see pheasants. Like we have a lot of natural wild pheasants on our river property we own, and we'll see them. That we have roosters that fly over our blind. We shoot a few a year. They fly over
Yeah.
our blind while we're duck hunting, and we'll pick a few off every once in a while, flying over to our corn to feed. And they'll say, "Well, when are you going to take us pheasant hunting or whatever?" And that's how we were able to pull clients from that over to our pheasant sector. But like you said with growth, I mean you don't want to raise one level of your standard but lower another. For us, that's kind of why, we spend a lot of money on a lot of shit that we probably don't necessarily need, but like it guarantees that that client's experience is going to be exactly what we want it to be every single time. That's a big reason we buy new trucks instead of used trucks and we have a new side by side and all that is because we don't have to worry about those things breaking down. They have warranties, we're covered. It costs more up front, it does, but I would hate to have a super old beater truck to try to go guide a hunt and have that truck break down. I mean, I couldn't do that to my clients and same thing comes back to like with our lodge. It was a pretty big step to buy our lodge this year. I mean, it was obviously it was pretty expensive. It wasn't cheap, and that takes a lot of money. And but the goal was to be able to add the pheasants and grow with the new lodge. And honestly, truth be told, we thought we might have for a little bit there. We thought maybe we did overstep, but it
Right.
we put our heads down. We grinded. Like I said, Grant calls 12 or 10 hours a day every single day. He's calling up to 1,000 phone numbers a day. We're hitting our clients. We're hitting our bookings. We're good now. Like we're kicking, and it's one of those things where like what you were saying was like you here, you're here. You want to be here. You don't want to be here. That's like the big thing. Is said, well, if we're gonna step up in our new lodge, we need to step up our quality. So we brought on more guides to make sure we have more scouts every day to make sure we have enough land. We went at least we added about 23,000 acres to our bundle this year. I mean, we take all these steps to make sure that as we go up in one quality, everything else follows. And yeah, it makes us more top line revenue, but it's also costing us a lot more. So net profit, doesn't always net profit. Obviously, the more money you make, at some point you're going to be making your gap between profit and expense is going to get larger. But like for this year at the house and everything, we're not we might be making a pretty decent chunk of money, but we're not making a decent chunk of money, and
It's coming. Man,
exactly.
and, and man, that's a freaking huge point right here. And I want to come back to the pheasant stuff. It's we're doing the same thing. Or maybe on the side, you're going to talk about that. But if guys are doing this and they think this is a cash cow or get rich quick deal, man, it's not. I mean, you can make a living off of it. And you can be comfortable, and obviously, if you're stupid ate up with it like we are, you'll be happy, right? And I spent 22 years in the military, retired from that, and had a lot of different opportunities to go do different things around wherever. And like at the end of the day, I knew this is what I wanted to do. So like if you just people think something's wrong with you, obsessed with doing this, then do it by all means. But if you're doing it because money is your motivating factor, I'd honestly tell you, go find something else and get into a really nice club. 'Cause there's a hell of a lot easier ways to make a living than
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Wade, I think that kind of brings up the management of the business, and I know Lydia wasn't able to join us, but one thing that like really interests me is the dynamics of the people that run the outfitters, and they're all so different. You know, you have the single owners that have buddies that help them out, but then you have someone like Hunter where there's multiple owners, and then you have the people with the angel investors who are giving them cash to build this thing so
yep.
that they can come and hunt for free. But Wade, I want to hear about Lydia, kind of why y'all decided to do this. Like you said, it's not a cash cow. So, like, what even got y'all into doing this in the first place?
Yeah. So first, and I probably should have said this a while ago, man, but let me caveat all this with the things that I'm saying right now mostly came from screwing something up. First and
Right.
foremost, it's not because I just magically appeared the subject matter expert. I'm a little bit older than probably a lot of guys starting out on just because of my prior career. But like the things that I'm saying are from mistakes that I made and not because I'm perfect at this. But going back to the start of the dynamic with Lydia and doing family operation, all that kind of stuff. I'll make it really quick. A buddy of mine retired from the Navy, just like Hunter was talking about, where people come out and hunt with you and buddies. And of course, I've been stationed in different places. We got buddies stationed all over the world. And Facebook became a thing, and I get along with people easily on social media. It's just something I enjoy. I enjoy talking to people from different places and just kind of made a lot of connections there. People started coming out. Well, they did that for 3 or 4 years while I was still in the Air Force, and more people were asking me to come hunt. And I helped some other outfitters out. Really awesome guys. I was talking to them while ago in a different part of Kansas, and helped them out on the side a little bit. And then that last year I was in the Air Force, I had a buddy that was booked out, and he had a couple of groups of guys that had reached out wanting a book, and he's like, "Hey, I don't have any more spots for these guys. Would you do interest in any guys?" I was like, "Yeah, let's try this out. Let me see if I'm as stupid as I really think I am when it comes to this, right?" And so I did that while I was in the Air Force. I took vacation time, leave time, and got a couple of groups, and really just makes me enjoy it that much more because it's just one more layer to something I already love. But one of these guys that came out and hunted with me, kind of my mentor in the dog being Paris Major, he's coming here in January. But he retired from the Navy. He came out here and hunted with me. And I still had like 3 or 4 years left in the Air Force. I wasn't close to retirement. And took him on 3 or 4 days. We still, we had some good hunts. And he's like, "Man, what are you going to do when you retire from the Air Force?" And I was finishing up my bachelor's in organizational management. Was getting ready to start a master's program in instructional systems design. Teacher for 5 years now. And it's like, man, you can go to Boeing or Bombardier or Cessna or one of these places and make a pretty decent living, doing this stuff, developing curriculum for them and things like that, or managing that. And he's like, dude, he's like, that's what he does now. He got out of the Navy and he does a contract job. He does it really well. And he's like, man, you can do that if you want to, and you're not gonna be mad at it. It's gonna be a good life. But if I were you, said I'd train dogs in the spring and summer and guide hunts in the fall and winter because he lives in South Carolina and guide hunts there is really
Yeah.
an option, right? But he's a
Right.
fantastic dog. Maybe one of the best 1, 2, 3 dog things I've ever known. And so he told me that it clicked, right? That's my dream. And so I didn't have any idea. I didn't know. Like I still thought you had to go buy 10,000 acres and build a $500,000 lodge and all these things. That's what I thought. I didn't know. And so when I started helping out my buddies that were guiding outfitting, then I kind of learned the profit and loss on it. What's daily stuff, right? Let's not go spend $25,000, $30,000 in a lease of this for all year long. The birds don't use this year. Things got, whatever, 200, 400, 600, 800 bucks for the day, and one or two birds on it today, and we're not, hooked into some long-term deal that doesn't provide any return for us. So I started learning those things, and then, I was like, okay. When I started, I was like, dude, we're just gonna keep this super small. We're gonna do non-lodging, this, I don't even want to compete. I don't want to be in a conversation with the bigger outfitters in Kansas. Kansas is a toxic environment for outfitters, but it's not getting better. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
So I didn't want to, I have no desire to have friction with other outfitters or whatever, or buddy hunters, man. That was me forever. When I was in the Air Force, I didn't have money to drop on a bunch of leases and stuff like that. So I don't want to mess up those guys, right? So I just kind of want to do this small thing. I got my military retirement, all that kind of stuff. I was like, make a living at it, be happy. Well, once you get started with something, if you're a certain kind of person, you don't want to halfway do it. And that's kind of what happened where, like, we got started with it. It went well. And then we stepped one little thing up and then we stuck it. And here's another thing. I just finished my fourth year of doing this. Okay. A lot of people, and I think it's just because I'm old, but a lot of people think we've been doing this for a long time. And we just finished the fourth year of doing this. If I say I'm learning this stuff by screwing up, I mean, I'm learning this stuff by screwing up. But, one thing just kind of led to another, and we improved where we could here. And really improving was about relationships, because if we didn't provide what I thought was the right service to these people paying me their hard-earned money, if I couldn't look myself in the mirror and know I did everything I could to make that an enjoyable trip for them, then I wasn't happy with it, and neither was Lydia. And she's a huge driving force with every bit of this because of her administrative management abilities and whopping me upside the head every now and then, telling me I'm stupid abilities, and I'm the good idea fairy sometimes, right? So my son's 11. He hunts. My daughter's 17, getting into college next year. She's been turkey hunting with me since she was 10. My brother and I grew up with my dad from the time I was 7 or 8 years old, and he was 5 or 6 years old. Other than going to work, there's nowhere that man went that we weren't with him. And I knew that's how I wanted it to be with my kids. So when we started this, it was very plain and simple. It's a family, it's a family operation. My wife owns this with me. She's on the LLC. She has just as much stake in this as I do. It is very much a family operation, and we want to keep it that way. And no, obviously no disrespect to what Hunter and those guys are doing, because it's working for them, and they're doing a great job of delegating that and spreading that across. And honestly, your guys' ability to work together and do that is why you're as successful as you are, as fast as you are. But that just wasn't the direction. Again, I'm a little bit older, so kind of, stuck in my ways and want to do things the way I want to do them. So doing it as a family run operation was non-negotiable. Starting a business with your wife can be challenging.
So I was gonna get at. I was gonna ask.
Dude, no, go for it. We're actually probably going to start doing some podcasts talking about like
that.
entrepreneurial stuff as a couple. We've been married 20 years. We've been married 19 years.
Gotcha.
So like we've been together through thick and thin, deployments, kids, being stationed all over the place, no family around, all that kind of stuff. We've been through the ringer, right? So like we got a lot to reach back and dig deep and know. Like we're just hard enough. We're gonna stay together no matter what type deal. So we can be real honest with each other. Sometimes maybe a little too honest, but like doing that with your spouse is definitely can be very challenging, but also the other side of the spectrum is hugely rewarding. Also, and our relationship's the best it's ever been, and we've been best friends. We were friends for 4 years before we started dating. So like that part of it is awesome and cool, but I don't mean it's easy.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna ask, because I know there's a lot of things you hear about, like you shouldn't start a business with your spouse, but then I always hear the flip side of the coin, where it's
Yeah.
like it's actually extremely rewarding if you're able to make it work. And so
There's a lot of
obviously,
pitfalls there, man. I
yeah,
mean, I can see where it could be extremely taxing on a relationship if you aren't really, really, really solid and grounded in your relationship. And Yeah, I don't have an ego. It doesn't serve me to have one. I'll be the first to say that I have certainly made that relationship harder at times and working through the process of learning how to start a business and figuring out lanes for what he does and what I do and all those things. So I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't come with bumps because it does, but we're better for who we're better together now because of those bumps that we've gone through establishing it and still bumps every day, all the time. But our ability to work through it just gets better and better and less more seamless as we go.
Yeah, one of the questions I was going to ask is like, what were those bumps that y'all had when y'all first started doing it? As a married couple starting it.
Hey,
I
you
mean,
need to
there's
get
a
her out here by herself because she'll throw like brutal
well,
honesty out there. Um, yeah, man. I'm a very transparent person. We've gone to marriage counseling therapy,
yeah,
and not because like we tell our therapists like, yeah, we're not substitute from infidelity, this, that, and the other, and he's like, well, why are you here? We're like, well, the things we get better at, right?
yeah,
And we haven't. But personality conflicts, and Hunter can attest to this, and maybe you can too, because I know what you did starting out in business early on and stuff like that. But it doesn't have to be your spouse. I mean, personality conflicts. My wife is extremely organized,
mm,
extremely detail oriented. I mean, she will make a Excel spreadsheet her bitch. Well, I don't give a shit about that stuff. I hate
yeah,
it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't even want to think about it. So the more she does with it, the better for me. But, there's times where I have to be involved with it because she needs to know how many hunters Bill Smith has in his group that I've been on the phone with and, whatever, all that administrative stuff that you have to do if you want to keep up with things, right? Well, her method of doing those things and my method of doing those things are nowhere near compatible. I mean, they're not. Like if either one of us had an ego, we would have lost our bananas a long time ago. Because I don't like, we don't do stuff the same. I'm a big picture person. I'm a people person. Like I want to talk to people.
right,
I want to be outside, and I want to like wing it and make sure it works in the end type deal. Hell no. He wants every minute, second, dollar, you know, line on no she can tell you what line number 27 on the January, deposit chart is for this, that, and the other. I don't know, I don't care. Like,
yeah,
and and he's not wrong. Honestly, I probably am.
right.
Um,
You need that.
but here's the other thing, right? So as opposite as we are, and as hard as it is for us to agree on how to do things sometimes, he compliments the things that I suck at. And that's why it works. And, there's times where I have to learn to just shut up and say, hey, you need X, Y, and Z. And I don't give a shit how you do it. Let me know when it's done. I'll take a look at it and make sure it checks all the boxes. Cool. Love you. Great job. And just shut up and walk away. Because at the end of the day, nitpicking some bullshit that doesn't matter and is not going to change the end result whatsoever, is just going to cause friction with my wife,
Yeah.
is not worth it. That's not the hill I'm going to die on, right? So, like, you got to figure out which hills you are willing to die on, and the rest of them stay the hell off of. So, it's ego at the end of the day. If you can set it aside, you can make it work.
So one of the benefits of not working with your spouse is like you spend the whole day, you can get pissed at somebody else and like be
Yeah,
frustrated with them, and then you can come back to your spouse, and
yeah. It
vent
makes
or whatever it is.
yeah,
But are
it
y'all
makes
able
dinner
to?
awkward.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, are y'all able to shut it off? Like, hey, work's done now, it's normal life.
It depends on how much friction there is there.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
and and the cool thing is like there's not that much friction because we know the lanes and stuff, right?
Mm,
So I know my lane, and she knows what I'm good at. She doesn't want to be flogging around in muddy ponds chasing, ducks or dealing with wet dogs either. So she's got an
right.
appreciation for that side of it, but I got an appreciation for what she does. And as long as I know, like, we're getting what we need out of it in the end, I'm not nitpicking. Like, I mean, and even when I was in the Air Force, supervising, airmen doesn't do you any good to nitpick it.
Right.
Tell them what the left lane is and the right lane is, and let them go do cool shit and just stay out of their way. As long as they stay inside the mayonnaise and the mustard, like let them go, baby.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, that's kind of something Hunter's talked about with his team as well. Like, obviously, it comes down to personalities. Yours
Yeah.
is different because
Yeah.
it's your spouse, but
But
yeah,
like,
Hunter's had to do the same thing. And I was gonna ask, like, okay, same mentality. Do you take that with your employees as well? Like, kind of them, you know, set the boundaries, let them go do their thing.
Yes. The difference with them is like, I hate to like refer to military crap all the time, but General, that's Mad Dog Mattis. He's got a quote in his book that says, operations move at the speed of trust. With your employees, that's the rule number one. The more I can trust them, the more flexibility I can give them, the less oversight I can give them, and they can go do cool shit without me having to look over their shoulder. So early on, there's a lot more oversight there. Guys have been working for me since day one. Like, I don't babysit them, and they know what to do. I know they're going to do it. I don't have to worry about it. And very rarely will I, most of the time, that's just me, saying, oh, hey, here's this guy's phone number because it's the wrong one in the calendar or whatever. And they'll take everything else and run with it. And they don't even, I'm there for shaking babies and kissing hands at that point.
Like it. I like it. Well, Hunter, you have any questions before we move on to a different topic, brother?
I really don't have any questions. I just got to sit there with a smile on my face because what he's saying, even though he's talking about it with his wife, I mean, it's the same exact
Yeah.
shit here. I mean, there ain't no point about making a big deal over something that doesn't affect the end goal. And then on top of that, that's funny too because I'm exactly like your wife. That's my job. That's what
It
I do.
literally is. It
Oh,
It's
is.
yeah.
funny that
That's
getting
him.
a huge grain out of that, but it's also funny because like I don't know how to talk to landowners, right? That's not my forte. I'm not good at bullshitting. I'm very straight to the point, business minded. Also is why I don't really do the best with clients, talking to like trying to book clients. It's like it's exactly why I just stay in my lane, do my job, make sure their job gets done, and that's it. And
Yep.
I don't tell them how to do it. I don't ask them how to do it. I just let them do it, and that's it. Like you don't want to watch me try to cut down a pine tree or something. I've watched Sam cut down cottonwoods bigger than this house. You don't want to watch. You don't want to let me anywhere near that thing. I'd dump a cottonwood on the truck on accident. I mean, this, that's just why everybody has their job and everybody has their space. And like, I just couldn't sit there but smile because it's like that's right. It's
Well,
fucking
dude,
perfect.
that's what makes you good at what you do too, because you know what you're successful at, you know what you work well at, and you're confident enough in what you do that you don't feel the need to bleed over to what those other guys are doing to make yourself feel, important, right? You know what you do is important. At the end of the day, you're the one writing the checks. So ain't nobody arguing with that. So like you got that confidence, you can set your ego aside and say, "Hey boys, go kill ducks. The
Mm-hmm.
checks will get written. Don't worry about it." And it's my wife, and that adds a different dynamic to it, obviously. But it doesn't make any difference. Managing personalities and leading people is managing personalities and leading people, whether it's your wife, your coworker, your dad. Think about
Mm,
Stanfield where you got Jeff and Andy, father and stepson doing it. Think they don't have some personality conflicts? Of course they do. But
right.
they make it work and set that aside and keep on moving on for 28 years now.
Yeah. Okay, I do have one question that's more personal, just from my experience from coming up there. Is his name Danny
Danny Giedros is his
Giedros?
name
Okay.
on social media. It's Danny G.
Okay.
And the fact that he even has social media is
It's
comical.
hilarious.
But dude, that man is a treasure. I mean, if I made $10 million a year, I still couldn't pay him enough for what he does. And it sucked when y'all came up here because we had like the biggest exodus of geese I've ever seen in Kansas. Part of the reason I don't want to do February hunts anymore. Hunting's not going to be good every day, and
Yes.
it doesn't matter.
Getting it.
It doesn't matter. Mid-January, when I'm at peak mallard migration, and I can take you multiple places and show you 20, 30, 40,000 mallard feeds, whatever. It's still going to be tough days because it's a high of 7 degrees. Everything's frozen, and the damn ducks didn't even get off the roost until sunset, and they came and fed for 30 minutes after sunset and went back to the roost. Well, how the hell am I going to shoot them? They're just, like, and there's going to be those days. I don't give a damn who you are, how big you are, how good a habitat you have, how many ice rippers you have. It doesn't matter. It's hunting, it's bugs, it's weather. Danny is the savior on those days because I know I can spend every minute on the road scouting I need to. The guides can do the same. They're going to be well fed. If they need, Maker's Mark instead of Knob Creek bourbon, he's gonna be on it. If they want Casey strips instead of ribeyes, he's gonna be on it. And on top of that, they're gonna be side splitting laughing the entire time. And I don't have to worry one bit about what's going on at that line.
How did you find him? Because isn't he from
So
Louisiana?
Facebook, bro.
Yeah.
So going back to what we were talking about making those connections on Facebook early on, there used to be a podcast called HP Outdoors Podcast, and it was like the OG waterfowl podcast. I think it was only one for like a few years. And this was also the time that Facebook groups came along. Well, they created a listeners group for this podcast. Okay? Started out like 100 people, and somehow or another I ended up like in the first 100, 200 people. There was a group of us that were kind of in the first few hundred people in this group that just were kind of really tight. I mean, dudes all over the country: Washington, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, here, ball. Christian Dubois was a really good photographer, and that's Mr. Danny's son-in-law. Okay? I got to know Christian really well. Christian came up here and hunted. We got to be really good friends over the years. Well, Christian texted me, second or third year, he'd come up, hey man, you mind if my father-in-law comes up, Mr. Danny? I was like, get shit, come on, let's go. Like, Christian provided me thousands of dollars worth of photo content every time it comes up. And just like Mr. Danny, if you can not piss yourself listening to their stories, you're doing something. So he asked me if he could come up, and he came up. His first thing came dove hunt or teal hunt or something like that. And just been ever since. So he retired out of the oil and gas industry 3 years ago. We had another awesome guy that used to manage the lodge and cook for us, and he's still a great friend. He's coming up to hunt too. But he's retired law enforcement, but his just life situation didn't really allow for being gone for 2 or 3 months. The same. And Mr. Daniel is cut from the same cloth. He eats this stuff up. He loves it. He did not hunt a single day last year. And I wouldn't be able to beat him off with a stick if I told him he couldn't come back this year. He loves to hunt this much, but he absolutely loves taking care of people, having fun, cutting up, telling stories, hearing stories. He listens as good as he talks. And then his A2 make you want to slap your mama.
It's so good. Dude, Hunter, y'all need to get y'all a Danny. That's all I got to say.
Hey, I can find you one, don't worry.
This year we actually that was one of our big hires. We hired a really good buddy of ours. He's a good buddy of our new guy, one of our new guys. His name's Quentin, and he's going to be our lodge manager and our chef this year. And he grew up running the restaurant in his town and was cooking there and doing all that. So we're going to bring him in, give him some work, and try to create our own Mr. Danny. I don't know. He's young. Yeah, he ain't got the stories, I'll bet, but he might be able to make someone laugh a little bit.
I think Mr. Danny's 62, 63 years old. He can reach back a little ways back there. But
yeah.
Dude, I mean, I can't even call him I can't call him the lodge manager. I can't call him the cook. I can't call him in-house entertainment because he's all of it in one.
He's like a hospitality wizard. I don't know what it is, but
he is. That is exactly. I'm gonna get him something intrigued. So
he will like comment on my Facebook posts and everything. Like in my I think like my wife like ended up getting her doctor. I can't remember what it was. It was kind of a big life thing, or maybe it was we got the ranch that we have, and he's like up on there congratulating us, writing a whole paragraph in it. It's like, It
Yep.
was so cool. He was a great person to hang around. Like you said, I think we only came back with one bird, and I think it died from the bird flu. We had showed up, and it
Yeah,
was
we
already
got there and
dead.
it was already dead. Yeah.
It was already
All the
dead.
rest of them were up in Hunter's backyard.
Yeah, and so, but no, he was super cool. He was a great dude, and like that, I
Well,
think. Go ahead.
what I was going to say is going back to kind of typing that paragraph up on y'all getting around to Cactus,
Oh, you're good.
y'all getting around to wife answering her PhD up or wherever, and you wrote, a paragraph on your Facebook or whatever. The cool thing, he meant every word of it.
I believe
And
it. I believe it.
you have a friend for life.
Yes. Yeah.
You couldn't beat that out of him if you tried. That is who he is.
That's awesome. I think too, like it goes back to the retention rate that we were all kind of talking about. Like, yes, there's some times of the year where you just probably shouldn't run a waterfowl hunt, depending on
Yeah.
where you're at. But you're always going to have those bad days, and like I've
Mhm.
seen both of y'all like very successfully in different ways maybe
Yeah.
have stuff that goes beyond the hunt that is going to create retention, get people to come back, make them leave with like super memorable experiences. I wanted to hear if you could kind of just like fire off what are those things that people outfitters should be doing, because a lot of them that are young are just so focused on the hunt, but what are the things that truly make a retained client, like someone who's going to come back?
Well, I mean, and I know Hunter will attest to this, and I've probably heard the same thing. I've had these conversations as well. Controlling the controllable, right?
Hmm.
The shape's going to be perfect. The bourbon's going to be on the shelf when they get there. The fireplace is going to be done. The lodge is going to be clean. The guys are going to be on time, sober, and prepared, no matter what.
Hmm.
I am always accessible, good or bad. But when I screw up, I take ownership of it. I've got one negative review anywhere out there about our business, and it ain't because I only screwed up once. It's because when I do take ownership of it and figure out what we need to do to make it right, because we all make mistakes. It's how you take care of people when you do make mistakes that matters. But if I have no idea what y'all charge for hunts. When you are catering to a certain type of guest, and they probably have owned their own small business at some point or been a manager or supervisor or a professional of some sort, whether a doctor, lawyer, or whatever. They know what effort looks like, and you cannot bullshit that. If they're walking away from that hunt, it doesn't make just like you guys when you came out. We just got dealt a shit hand. But if guys are walking away from that 3 days, it's happening more times than I'd like to admit, where they walked away and they said, Wade, I'm sorry that the hunt didn't work out the way we hoped it did, but you guys did absolutely everything in your power to make it a good experience. Put us down for the same business. Because they know that.
Right. No, I think that's a great point. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever really heard someone say that these clients are the kind of people that can see the amount of effort because they've managed people. They've been around this kind of stuff. It's still a business at the end of the day, and they can see that. I think that was put perfectly. When I was there
And,
last
and
time,
to be fair, Mr. Danny rebooked more guests for me this year than my guests did.
that's awesome.
100%.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, Mr. Danny was just like the excitement when you got back to the lodge. Like I looked forward to getting back to the lodge because I knew I was going to get to hang out with
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Danny. Like he was such a great person to
Hell,
be
me
around.
too. And I see him every day.
Yeah, yeah, he's just one of those people you want to be around. They make you kind of like it just changes your whole attitude about the day, no matter what happened.
Every time.
But when I was there, one, I just want to say your lodge is freaking sick, the one that I got to be in, but I know there's a second one being built,
Mm-hmm.
or is it done?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
done. It's actually, I think, like finishing up the end. So we lease our lodge, and
Right.
I'm trying to like mislead anybody there or anything like that. But it's being finished up. Well, it is finished up right now. They're actually like doing the finishing, cleaning on everything. Should be going out there this coming week, the next week, something like that. Kind of take a last look at everything and figure out the or like the burps.
It's a
Um,
bang, yeah.
figure out the last little touches or whatever. Yeah. And that's, relationships. That's it. That's where that whole thing came from. We were helping somebody out doing some upland birds on CSA ground, doing a hunt like that, made a friend and developed those relationships, and it was sitting there open meeting thing. It's better than any other option that I had at the time. Relationship worked out
Huh.
for us and them, well
Yeah.
enough to where it was worth knowing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean your one lodge you had, I'm sure the new one is even cooler. But your one lodge, that fireplace and the big table with the open kitchen, everything,
Yep,
it was perfect. I loved it.
yep.
But I
And
did
that's
want to
gonna
hear.
that's gonna be growing pain for us this year is
Mm,
figuring out like the logistics of that. Right, we got two groups in now versus just one, and there's only one Mr. Dan. Figuring
uh,
the food and serving and all those things, but we'll
you'll
figure it
figure.
out.
Yeah, yeah, you'll figure those ones out.
The downstairs on the saloon, the second lodge, like it's big, open. It's going to be we have everybody down it. Both groups, big
They'll eat
one
there.
big happy family. Yeah,
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I mean they're literally right next to each other, so it's
yeah,
super
yeah.
cool. Well, before we wrap it up, I wanted to hear any. Really, I just kind of wanted to hear like what y'all's plans are, what your vision is. Like you said, you're the visionary here, and so like I want to hear where you see um you know y'all's business going the next 5, 10 years, and what y'all are focused on.
Well, goal we got a retention rate where we want. We maintaining that and maintaining that relationship that we have with our guests. And you'll notice I don't call them clients, I don't call them customers. They're guests because at this rate, half of them are family. But maintaining that with them, number one, no matter what, we got to do to take care of those people. That is definitely um, where we're going. We know if we do that, a lot of other things are going to fall in place, right? Because that's the people that are referring other people to us, or whatever. So maintaining that. Next is we've done some controlled area shoot stuff, controlled shooting area stuff as far as upland goes in February through. We're trying to expand that a little bit because that's really a dead time. We don't have consistent enough snow geese in my area to kind of fall back on that. And really think I'd even want to just because they're so inconsistent. And I got enough gray hairs, right? But so we're trying to really expand that control shoot stuff with more solid feet European hunts, field
Oh, cool.
hunts, stay in shoot packages where hey, Mallard Bay or GuideTech says, hey guys, we're putting out this stay in shoot package down in Kansas. It's February 20th and 28th. There's nothing else going on out there, right? Everything's closed, blah, blah, blah. We want to take our 8 best clients and we want to take them down and hang out with Wade and do a pheasant hunt and load hundreds of those guys up. Your other top spending customers, and you're going to bring them out there to hunt with us for a 2-day deal. And look, it's planet birds, right?
Mhm.
90% of this is about sitting around the fireplace with a good drink and building relationships, getting to know people, maybe building some business, expanding on business relationships, things like that. Or maybe saying thank you to your best sales guys, your 16 best, I can't say guys, y'all have some pretty talented, ladies that work for y'all. So maybe y'all want to reward them with that. You don't want to bring them out for a weekend getaway doing go shoot clays, do a pheasant hunt one day, do a quail hunt or chucker hunt the next day, whatever. So building on that is a big one for us right now. There's some really, really good places in Kansas to do those things. Really, really good places in Kansas to do those things. We're the closest one to Wichita. So, we can build that up to where it's like a really repeatable business model for us in February, March, and April. We really want to push that. And then I'm honestly on the fence with turkey right now. I will guide people turkey hunting for free because I love it. I don't know if I'm going to continue to guide people turkey hunting. But there's so many things in limbo. We went to the lottery for the first time last year.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Nebraska was like a multi-bird state. Oklahoma was a multi-bird state. Well, they've all dropped down now. we're one bird in Kansas. So the playing field's been even a little bit there. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I'd love to guide turkey hunts, but it was really impossible for me to charge people what it takes to put on turkey hunts successfully and give people that experience that they're looking for without them looking at a 2 bird or 3 bird hunt in Nebraska or Oklahoma or something like that. But now that the states are kind of evening out, we're just going to play that by ear and let it go the way it goes. Um,
Gotcha.
I'll take 15 people turkey hunting every year, no matter what, um, just because I can only kill one. And I absolutely love sitting out there turkey hunting. And then deer hunting. Deer hunting is it's the gold standard in Kansas
Mhm.
when it comes to outfitting. And I have guys that work with us that are just as passionate about deer hunting as I am waterfowl. And these guys are hardworking, intelligent, articulate, management-minded guys. I'm more than happy to let them crush it on the deer hunts and bring us as a deer outfit in Kansas because we have the deer for it, we have the properties for it, we have the people for it. And there's a demand out there for it. Every year there's 30,000 people to put in for the draw and only 22,000 tagged. If the demand wasn't there, we wouldn't be on a lottery system for it. Right?
Right.
If that's what people want, and I've got guys, I've got the properties and everything to provide that service, I am more than happy to do that as a good part of it, and I think it'll do really well long term. The deer game is a long term game.
Yeah. No, but I mean Kansas. That's like what I grew up hearing. It's Iowa, Kansas, and a little bit of
Yeah,
Nebraska. Not even
yeah.
really Nebraska, but yeah,
Illinois back in the day,
Illinois. Yeah.
and you've got other states. There's good options for guys that really tell management became such a big thing 20 to 30 years ago with TDM
Mhm.
and things like that. And just so everybody knows, like I grew up bow hunting, deer hunting was not oblivious to me. Um, it's just not something I have a passion for anymore personally. But
Same thing
you
happened to
know,
me.
yeah, I'd rather be sitting on a bar with 6 buddies
That's what
or
I'm saying. Yeah.
posted up against a tree turkey hunt telling jokes and having fun. And God love
Exactly.
him. I mean, there's nothing. My brother is a diehard bow hunter. My dad is 75 years old, still bow hunting with a reefer.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so, so I get it. It's just not what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
So, Western Kentucky is Kentucky, not Western Kentucky. Ohio is good. Uh, Illinois is good. Nebraska is good. Oklahoma is good.
Yeah.
Parts of Montana. There are Indiana. There are a lot of really good options for deer across the country. State, Kansas, and probably a lot of Nebraska, northern Oklahoma. We kind of hit that sweet spot between hunting pressure versus herd health, antler quality, all those things. Kansas is just hits that sweet spot. You look at Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, they got huge deer. They don't have huge deer, but they also got a lot more hunting pressure and some things like that. People people like to kind of be pessimistic about long term deer hunting. Pretty strong. I mean, as
Well,
long as they keep managing tag numbers.
yeah, and I think on top of the conservation efforts, but there's also like a location benefit that
Oh yeah.
y'all have too. I mean, Oklahoma has that as well,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but you have a huge population coming out of Louisiana, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
um, Arkansas. I'm assuming that all want to shoot big deer, and we all see it on TV, where it's not filmed where we live. It's filmed in places like
Yep.
Kansas, Iowa,
Well,
Illinois,
well,
Indiana.
it's guys like me. It's guys like my brother, guys that grew up living, breathing. Everything they did was deer hunting,
Hmm.
but they just live in a locale that if you shoot 120, 130 inch deer, like that's very likely the biggest deer you'll ever kill in your life.
Exactly.
And for those guys to have an opportunity at a 150, 160, 170 plus inch deer,
Oh yeah.
they are willing to do whatever to have that opportunity. And God love them. I mean, that's fine. It's no different than guys from South Carolina that
Yep.
breeze duck
Yep.
hunting. and they come out here because they don't have greenheads there, and that's what they want. And I am more than happy to put them on them.
Definitely. I mean, even you mentioning that you're doing whitetail, it makes me want to come up there and hunt whitetail because I mean, like you said, I grew up bow hunting in Texas and predominantly East Texas. And,
Yeah.
like you said, shooting a 120 is like, that's a big deal to shoot something like that here. But going to somewhere like Kansas, is huge. I mean, we went out thermal hunting when I was there, I think. Um,
We went thermal
eh,
fiddling.
Piddling, yeah. But we were, uh, I mean, I remember we saw a huge buck out there. It was
Okay.
sick just to see it. Like it was mind
And
blowing.
being like completely transparent, like because I check cameras,
Hmm.
religiously now. I'm looking for bucks, and I love checking the cameras. I love patterning the deer. I love learning. Like I put a post up today about like I got all these pictures from this week of bucks kind of standing off on each other and kicking at each other and stuff like that. So they're starting to look at breaking up those bachelor groups and stuff like that. Right? I love all the biology part of it. If it weren't for my son, there'd be a really high likelihood that I'd be buying a bow and sitting in a deer stand again.
Yeah,
But my son loves to deer hunt, and I can live it through him, man.
for him. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I would much rather, just experience that through
yes,
his eyes.
yeah.
And if I don't ever see another whitetail for the rest of my life, but I get to put that
Oh,
on deer and bigger deer and teach him how to shoot a bow, man, that's better than shooting a wall full of boom.
yeah. No, 100%. That's what I'm super excited for. I know I have two daughters, but even just having this small piece of property, I see deer all the time out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that like itch where hey, I'm waking up before work. I'm gonna go hunt on the back
Mm-hmm.
of my property or anything like that for whitetail. The thought, because this is where I grew up hunting, my whole life. And
Yep.
so being able to take them out there and do that, that's like what I'm super eager for. And I know
Yep.
they might not get the same itch that I have, but I'll probably force them
But
to
they
do it
might.
anyways. Yeah, I'll probably
You
force
don't you
them to
don't
do it
know if you
anyway.
don't
So
expose them to it, and teach
that's
them.
true.
And I'm a huge proponent of bow hunting, especially like East Texas or the South, or even you think about Pennsylvania and Michigan and some of these other places
Yeah.
like that. But dude, if you can successfully bow hunt whitetails, especially if you're doing it without bait, I'm not judging you one way or the other. We put bait,
Hmm.
do what's
100%.
legal, but we weren't allowed to put bait out when I was growing up. If you can
Hmm.
learn how to bow hunt whitetails naturally, it will make you better at every other kind of hunting, fishing, trapping, life, whatever, because of the woodsmanship involved and learning to scout, read sign, all those things. It's kind of like guys talk about trapping and how they learn so much woodsmanship. Bow hunting whitetails without baits, it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Even I will say, even in challenging places, like even in East Texas, where you have small piece of property, and you can do like a 5 acre food plot or something like that. Even being able to kill something on that with the bow, it's hard. It still
Mhm.
takes time and effort and energy that like goes into that. So I really commend anyone who's like super hardcore into that stuff and is working with limited resources
Yeah.
to do that. But it definitely does make you a better hunter. I don't know what happened, man. I killed a nice deer in East Texas finally, and then the property flooded. I went to check my trail camera, and the property had like 1,000 wood ducks sitting on it on my food plot. And I literally sold my bow like a day later. Went and bought a shotgun. We bought a boat and everything. And I was duck hunting for the rest of my life. That was it. Yeah.
Very similar story to me. When I went to Hawaii, when we were leaving Hawaii, I kind of had some input on where I was stationed
Mm.
for that. And I put in for Kansas for bow hunting, for deer hunting. Got here, bought a new $1,200 Hoyt, got it all set up.
Yeah.
Bow hunted a couple of years with it, killed a couple decent, and killed one really nice public land deer, several days, another nice little buck, and sold that freaking Hoyt for nothing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. That's funny. That's funny. I mean, like I worked so hard as a kid to get that bow. I was mowing grass, everything, saving up all summer long. Had like a PVC pipe I was stuffing money in. And then I spent every dime I had on that bow, killed two or three bucks with it, and then saw those waterfowl and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm doing this. Cause you get to do it with your buddies, everything like that, the hospitality part of it. Even if you're not guiding, just getting to spend
Yeah.
time with friends.
Yep.
I don't know, man. It's definitely. I mean, it's super cool that this is like what my job is. I get to talk to people like you that duck hunt for a living. Um,
Visit them during the wintertime.
what was that?
And then go visit them during the wintertime.
Yeah, I do get to visit them a lot during the winter time. I get to hunt quite a bit. I get to go and hunt with Hunter this year on the Platte River. I know the Platte River is like a huge bucket list for a lot of people, and I get to go every single year.
Number one on my list.
I got really?
Matter of fact, I need Hines' phone number when we get
Dude,
done.
I'll send it to you for sure. But
And
yeah,
I like talking this stuff with him too, because he gets it.
oh yeah. He understands it. You need to go up there though and spend time with his whole crew. They all get it. They all
Yeah,
got their
that's
like
it.
their roles that they run, and it's super impressive. But
That's
well, Wade,
cool.
I've enjoyed it. I got lunch waiting on me, my wife waiting on me.
Well, good, man.
Oh yeah,
Go
no,
get some lunch and
yeah, I'll go grab some food. I enjoyed it. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. So, guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, liked it, please share it with anyone that you think that could help. Someone who's just getting started or someone who's been doing it for a while. But Wade Hunter covered a lot of different things in here. Someone who's married and their wife is helping run the business. Gage at Texas Blaze, you should watch this, brother. You're young. You're gonna be going through the same stuff. Might have already gone through it, but yeah, guys, if you enjoyed it, just like, subscribe, share it, and we'll check you out next week here for episode number 22 of GuideTech Podcast. Take care.